So excited for you guys to hear today's episode with my good buddy Joey Chandler. No, not the one from Friends, a different Joey Chandler. This guy is just an amazing human being, leadership coach, just so inspirational. We have an amazing conversation about so many different things. And for those that haven't joined my free group yet, on Facebook. It's called Network Marketing Leads for Life. And also a special announcement that on September 8th, my newest and latest book is going to be coming out. It's called the Marketing Workbook for LinkedIn. So this is an evergreen workbook for anyone in any industry, in any business, to learn how to leverage LinkedIn to their best capabilities. So if you go to any of my groups, if you can find me on Facebook, I have the link of how to join the waitlist. I will also put in the show notes. And guys, enjoy my interview with Joey. I know you're going to love it. Welcome to the Network Marketing Made Simple podcast. I am your host, Scott Aaron, and each and every week, I'm going to come to you with short, simple, and powerful tactics of how you can grow your network marketing business, brand, bank account, and impact on those around you. And just remember, network marketing is not easy, but it can be made easy with simple steps to create the success that you truly deserve. So Joey, welcome to today's episode. And like everyone heard in the introduction to this, obviously, I'm excited for numerous reasons. Whenever I have a like-minded person on here, and I guess I should preface that by saying I never really have someone that I'm not like-minded on here, but someone else that is a podcaster that supports other podcasters and is truly a thought leader within what they do. I get excited about this because I have my own points of views. I have my own, thoughts about certain things, and I love getting other people's points of views because, again, I learn from them. And we're all teachers, but we're all students at the same time. So we'll first welcome, and second, most importantly, for a lot of my audience that is not familiar with Joey Chandler, not the Joey Chandler from Friends. This is the real Joey Chandler. For people that are not familiar with you and your work, tell everyone a little bit about what you do. But what I love to know most importantly, what was the moment for you in your professional career, pre-entrepreneurship, where you knew that you were kind of onto something and you wanted to lean into it and make it a business, and has allowed you to never stop since?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I am, I'm a purpose coach. Ultimately, what I do is I help people figure out who they are and what they're about, and then how they can be more of that in their lives. I believe that the more clear we are on who we are and the more ability we have to share that and experience that ourselves, the better we are at overcoming challenges as well as taking advantage of opportunities that we see. And what led me to this, kind of the moment I was like, whoa, there's something really cool here, was actually I was doing tribute videos. These are videos where I would create a video for, let's say your mom's birthday, and I would get 30 or 40 or 50 people to send in a video clip saying what they loved and appreciated about mom, put them all together, and we would show it at the party. And I did these for weddings, anniversaries, and retirements. And after doing maybe 50 or 100 of those, I started to notice that there was always a theme in the video. And the theme was about love, joy, happiness, excitement. It was something. It wasn't super loud. It wasn't overt. And it wasn't like I saw them at first. It took me, honestly, a couple of years of doing these videos full time to really start to see like, oh yeah, there's something there. And then about that same time, this was in 2016, 17, I was reading the Simon Sinek's Understand Your Why, and the Brendan Bouchards and Robin Sharmas of the world, where everyone's talking about knowing your purpose. And it just dawned on me like, oh, that theme that I'm seeing in that video, that's that person's purpose. It's who they are. It's what they bring to their interactions and their actions, not intentionally, because these were just everyday people, but because that's just who they are. And that got me excited because I did videos from people from 7 to 90 all over the world. And I was like, okay, there's always a theme. So to me, that meant that we all have a purpose. It's right there in the background of our lives, and we have to bring it forward. And when I got that, and that was again around 2016, 17, it was like, oh, there's something here. And I've been basically full tilt purpose wise since then.
It's one of those things. There's an old adage, turning your passion into profit, and you've taken your passion and your purpose and turned it into profit to ultimately give back to other people at the same time. And with what you did that kind of led you to this, you were giving people an experience. You were doing the most important thing, which I feel is what coaches and thought leaders do, is to create an emotional bond between you and that person. I'm sure seeing the looks on these people's faces when they saw the final cut, so to speak, of what they were looking at, had to have left them so much better. And when you start to see all of those things happen, it starts to motivate you to want more of that. And it's almost like this healthy obsession to want to continue to pour into people, to help more people, to create this experience for people where they're starting to just see things differently. So obviously, I always love to know these things too. What would you say, in your past life, because we live different lives within this own, what was the biggest takeaway that you took from that experience of putting together those videos and those memory video collages for people, that lesson that you learned, you actually brought it into your purpose coaching of what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's a great question. The big one is that we all make a far greater impact than we realize. It's just we have even you and I, who we're quote aware and we're doing this work a lot. We honestly have no idea the impact that we make. That one conversation, that one time. There's so many. I hear it over and over again in those videos. You probably don't remember this, but you said this, or you did this, or it, and we just don't know. And so whenever we wake up and our ego's going and telling us why nobody likes us and what we whatever those thoughts are, right? We all have them. Those videos are physical proof that those thoughts aren't true. It was actually a big kind of aha for me, where I'm doing these videos, and at some point I start to think like, well, what would people say if they did a video for me? Because I'm shallow that way, and I started thinking about it, and I just realized that people would say good things about me. Like it was like for a while I thought maybe I was the only one who people wouldn't say good things about. It was always about other people. But then I had to accept that no, I make a difference, and that was a big thing to really say, like, because I know if people did a video about me, there'd be 30 or 40 or 50 people that care about me. There'd be some theme, and that theme would be a reflection of my purpose. So that was a big one, to be able to be like, we make a difference in a far greater way than we realize.
That's such an important thing to kind of focus on, because I have a lot of network marketers, entrepreneurs, business coaches that listen to this podcast, and I think that tangibly you can't value isn't a monetary thing. When you're providing a value and a service to someone, that can't be quantified in a dollar amount. It's felt. And again, it's a priceless thing too. Prime example, a few months back, I did a video on, when everyone was adjusting from the pandemic, and they were home a lot, and I gave people 3 things that they could create for free. And one was a blog, 2 was a podcast, and 3 was an up-leveled social media presence. And I put the link to anchor.fm, where I started my podcast. And a few weeks later, I got a message from someone. And they said, Scott, I know we haven't spoken in a while, but I just want to let you know that I saw your video a few weeks ago, and the time that I was home from work, I took that time to start my own podcast. Here's a link to it, and thank you for the push. Now, that video that I did was not directed to her. I didn't say, hey, so-and-so, you should start a podcast. It was a general broadcast, but to your point, we don't always know who's listening. We don't always know who's watching. And more importantly, we don't always know who's taking action on what we suggest. And it's those times later where we get that message like, oh, thank you so much for your message this morning. You have no idea. That's when we know that we're doing good work. So obviously, being a purpose coach, it's a very, very deep and meaningful thing that you do, helping people find their purpose. What would you say is the most gratifying thing that you get to experience doing what you do professionally, but also that you're doing so passionately for other people?
Well, there's two parts, and actually, I want to say just one comment about you're a thought leader. You put out videos all the time, and you're impacting people. That's your business, really. That's, you wake up and you're like, how can I impact people? And the part that I want to point about the videos is that just everyday people make an impact. That you may not have an audience, you may not have a podcast, you may not have any of that. But what the videos show is that we as individuals, just as people living our lives, make an impact in ways that we don't realize. So I just want to, for those that people are like, well, Scott's all this thing. I mean, you are all that thing, and we still make a difference. And then, in terms of most gratifying, there's really two moments, one is one very clear one, and one just is ongoing. The first one is when people really get the sense of like, yes, that's who I am. And what I believe is that we are all here, and we're here to experience and share something. And that something is in the form of love, joy, happiness, excitement. It's a very simple word. It's very core to who we are. And each person has a different word, or a different word will call to a different person. And there's this moment when I work with people that they say like, well, I'm about excitement, or I'm about love, and they just light up. They just smile. It's one of the ways I coach is I keep asking questions until they start smiling. And there's this thing of like, that's who I am. And to really be able to own that, that's a great moment. That happens, that always happens. And then the next great moments are when people call me up or I call them up and say, just, hey, how are you doing? And they say, oh my gosh, I've been using your stuff. And I just talked to a client today who runs a company about 50 or 60 people. And throughout the pandemic, as things were tanking, her business was growing because she had been coming from love, which was her thing, for the past year. We had been working together for the past year, and she had brought love basically into her business. And how can she bring love? And it was all this stuff. And what she said is, it was really hard during all that time because I thought people would take advantage of me. I thought people it wouldn't work right, or it would sound funny. But as things were tanking and as people were laying off stuff, she was actually growing her business because people got that she was authentic, that she got that she was real. When she said that, we're gonna take a moment here, we're gonna come back with our numbers next month and let you know how things are, people believed her because she had been doing that for the past 6 or 8 months already. And it's those sorts of moments that people are like, they really use themselves. It's really, I love it. It's a great spot.
So first of all, I just want to kind of go back to what you said about the everyday person. And, for all the listeners, Joey and I started just like anybody else. We all had a first video. We all had a first podcast episode, which I'm still afraid to go back and listen to at this point. I don't even know what it would sound like. I know eventually I'll go back, but there's a first for everything. Every person does their first something. And, the two biggest things that I hear from people are, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And number two, what right do I have to talk about something? Who am I to inspire and motivate others? No one's going to look up to me. Well, again, that's a story. And, what you think about is what you become. So if you think about, no one's going to be inspired or motivated by me, but it's what you're going to put out to the universe. But no one, motivation and inspiration are feelings. I'm an inspired person because I feel that emotion. I feel gratitude. I feel love. I feel inspired. I feel motivated. And it's, you have to feel those things, just like you can feel sadness or hurt or hate or any of those things. Feelings are choices. So when you wake up, you can choose how to feel. And just like you said, when someone starts talking about their passion, they're feeling their passion. And what happens when you feel something that you enjoy? You smile. It's your connecting point. And that's what people have to understand. Most of what thought leaders like Joey and myself do is based off of our feelings. We enjoy what we do. It brings us happiness and joy in seeing how we emotionally, in a positive way, affect other people. Now, what you're hearing a lot over the last couple of years, Joey, is coaching in general. I teach this and I teach that, and there's a lot of people that love coaches, and there's a lot of people that feel like, who the hell is this person to coach? So obviously, every coach has a coach. You've coached with people. I've coached with people. What has been the biggest takeaway for you personally when from someone that you coached with? And second to that, what's the biggest misconception about coaching where a lot of people think it's a waste of money, they charge too much, this, that, or the other? What's the misconception about coaching, as a second question?
And are you saying what I took away from my coaches? Is that the
Yeah,
question?
when you first started
Yeah.
investing in your own self, what was the biggest takeaway that you had from it? And then obviously, what's the misconception about what we actually do for people?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the biggest takeaway in general around coaching, and this is the thing that it took me a long time to actually get, is that it's about you. It's about growing yourself. It's not about implementing a particular style or approach that this coach has. It's about figuring out who you are and then implementing what works based on who you are. Because what I found is, and I've done this, right? You spend all this money to pay for coaches, take seminars, and you write all the books, you take the notes and you high five people in the seminars, and you're going and you're like, oh, this is awesome. And you take your notebook and you write it down and you put it in the back of your car and never open it again, right? And I don't know how much money I've spent having done that. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people have. And what I realized, and this is actually from my purpose work, is what has happened in those situations is that the coach, the leader, the whoever has figured something out about their own purpose. They figured out something and they put together a program and they started to say, this is how things work. And it's awesome. And they're good at sales and they go and we go and do it and they're great at presentations. And so we get all excited. The problem is that their thing is based on their purpose. It's based on who they are. And it's totally awesome, but it's not based on who we are. And when coaching first got into, the past 40 years or so, and when we were first started doing personal development and then business coaching, we could kind of grind through that disconnect that was there because we learn from their purpose, but it's not ours. We could kind of grind through that disconnect. But now people are so cynical and so resigned and have spent so much money that disconnect shows up right away. And so what happens is people spend all that money and they go. And now people are like, I'm not even going to spend the money because I know I'm not going to do whatever they tell me to do anyway. So I'm just going to try to figure it out. And I can really relate to. I think what has to happen then, and this is what it took me lots of money figuring out, is you figure out who you are, you figure out what you're about, and then you can start to pick and choose from different things. Brendon Bouchard has this awesome three things you do each day, and he has a very simple list. Robin Sharma has the amazing the 5 a.m. club, and until I started to really figure out myself, I would do those things. I would start them and then I would fail, and then I have the sense of like, oh, I suck and all that. But now what I do is I start to figure out what works for me, and fulfills on my purpose. And that just allows me to keep going forward. So figure out who you are. And then the misconception is that the coach is going to be able to tell you what to do, because ultimately you're going to do whatever you're going to do. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. So figure out who you are and then what works for you. Not everything will. Learn, fail. And the coach is really great to help you maybe avoid taking some steps down a path that it will just take more time. I think that's the big thing that coaches provide, is they save you time.
Well, they shorten the learning curve, but at the end of the day, I still have people to this day ask me, what's going to be my ROI? And I said, it's going to be whatever you want it to be. And they said, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I said, I'm not in control of your success. I said, you're investing in yourself and me for me to teach you what I did to grow my business. And I'm giving you the ingredients of how you can do it for yours. What you choose to do with it, that's on you. So if you do something with it, you're going to get something from it. What that something is, we don't know till you get there. But doing nothing gets you nothing. And again, sometimes that's hard for people to hear, because as a society, we want instant gratification and we want known results. If I do this, this is going to happen. It's not true. Why do you think there's so many nutritional programs out there? Because what's good for one person may not be good for another. They could have a dairy allergy. They could have a gluten allergy, whatever the situation is, type 2 diabetic. So like you said, you have to find what really resonates with you. Again, the 5 a.m. club always resonates with me. Gratitude journals resonate with me. I do that every single day. Guided meditations really resonate with me. I have vision boards. It's right here. It's a happening board. So I do. Have I read a lot of things? I've read The Strangest Secret, where Earl Nightingale wants you to write down the amount of money that you want to make this year on a index card, and you carry it around and you look at it 6 times a day. I work from home. I don't walk around that much. I walk in my office. So there's things that I read that, like you said, I've tried, and I never saw that as a failure. I just saw it as something that really didn't resonate with me. And the way that I treat personal development and personal growth is like a dartboard. You're going to throw a lot of darts at this dartboard, things that you should do to better yourself. Some of the darts are going to stick. Some of them are just going to bounce right off. The ones that stick are going to be your routine. Then you will know what kind of coach you want. I'm a no fluff, no BS coach. I'm an action guy. I want to put people into motion. So the people that end up usually wanting to work with me are the ones that are action takers. They're in growth mode. They're not skeptical. They believe in investing in themselves, just like the same types of people that invest in you. And I think that was because again, I don't even know how much money at this point on events, but just like, I can't tell you, Joey, how many notebooks I have of notes, and there's dust on those notebooks. And I'm like, I furiously write page after page after page, close it up, put it in my book bag, go home, and the book bag is still closed up. So, and I just want you guys to know, as Joey and I are saying this, we're giving you permission. It's okay. We've been there. We've all gone down this personal development path and journey where, we've been so super enlightened. We're going to go to all these events, and I'm going to take all these notes, and I'm going to know everything. Well, listen, the average human being only uses 10% of their brain. So we're just not going to retain all that information. And you literally focus on what you can retain, and then you build upon that. So that's awesome. Now, here's my next question. With how entrepreneurship has been going, you see these people that want to be quote unquote influencers, and they take classes on it, or they get a coaching, whatever it is. There's a program for everything, it seems like, at this point. My belief is that the best certification that any person can get is called going through life. That certifies you to teach something that you've overcome. So how did you get into, outside of what you did before, putting together those memories and the scrap videos? What was it about that really resonated with you as far as purpose coaching that made you really want to turn into a business? What happened for you personally outside of all that that got you really into this?
That's a great question. The One of the great parts about when you really get clear on your purpose is that you can look back through your life and see how it has shown up in all sorts of different ways. And it turns out I've loved coaching from a very, very young age. I was a ski coach and a snowboard coach. I coached snowboard racing in Japan at one point. Every job that I took, when I look back, I did some sort of like creating trainings for, how to learn computers when in the early 90s. When the stock market, when everything crashed in 2008, I ended up taking a job at a local sporting goods store and I was selling shoes. And in that role, I brought in the various companies and the reps from those companies to do trainings for our staff on how to sell the different shoes better. And I just always did it. And I never really appreciated. And I did transformational courses. I led workshops and seminars. And so coaching is just always part of my life. And it wasn't until I did those videos, and it wasn't until I really understood my purpose, which is about people being great, I was able to look back through my life and see that thread of how coaching has always been a part of my life in a way that I never really appreciated. I think when I first started doing it, I was like, well, coach, there's that thing, people that do, and the people that can't coach or teach or that sort of thing. And I realized I used to believe that. And so I was always kind of disappointed in myself that I was the coach and that. But what I realized inside of my purpose of helping people be great, that coaching, the thing that I do extremely well is help people find their greatness, the thing that makes them special, and then be able to make use of it. And when I really got purpose, I was like, oh, and because my process is so fast and so simple, and when people light up, it just energizes me. And when in like 2016, 17, and then through 18 and 19, I just basically practiced. My program went from like, hours down to minutes, but it was just practice, practice, practice until I got it certified. Not certified, but now I've talked to well over probably a couple thousand people at this point on their purpose. And now I know it just works.
It's practice always makes practice, but what you said is those that can't do teach. And have you ever seen the School of Rock with Jack Black?
Absolutely. Yes.
So there's the one quote. He goes, "Those that can't do teach, and those that can't teach gym." And it's just really, it's one of my favorite movies.
I just rewatched it as part of all the stuff. Yeah.
Great movie. Great movie. It's so interesting because entrepreneurship in itself has really evolved even in the last 2 years. I launched my coaching practice for LinkedIn just over 4 years ago, and from where entrepreneurship was in 2016 to where it is in 2020, it's been a monumental shift. So for people that are on here that are, they're just getting started in their entrepreneurial journey and they're still, unclear of what their passion, their purpose, their vision is, what's the best piece of advice that you can give them to get started or get moving in that positive direction so they can find out what they're most passionate and what their purpose is?
Well, ask two questions. How can I help myself experience more of my purpose? And if you don't know your purpose, just how can I help myself feel great, whatever that is? And then how can I help others do it? You ask those, what I find, and especially in this time of contraction where the economy is going through all the different ways it is, I find that answering those two questions will always give me insight in terms of what steps to take. How can I help myself? Because we got to take care of ourselves. And that could be morning routines, calling friends up, eating better, whatever that is for yourself. And then asking, what can I do for other people? Because I believe the new economy as we go forward is going to be all about service. I think service was mentioned, has been talked about the last 10 years as important, but it's going to be fundamentally groundbreaking because people are in such shock, and we know when we're getting fed BS. We know that now, so you have to be authentic. So when you're clear on who you are, and this is why I think anybody, if you can't say your purpose, like if you can't rattle it off, one of my rules is you should know your purpose so well that you can share it over drinks with friends. If you can't rattle off your purpose just like that, then there's a little work to do. But when you do get that, and when you know who you are, you then can start to say, okay, how can I help myself experience more of that? How can I help others? And then you can be authentic and real, share where you're successful, share where you're struggling. But that is going to help you keep taking those baby steps. Because I'm going to guess that you didn't wake up one day and said, oh, LinkedIn, it's a progress. It's a bunch of baby steps. And then all of a sudden you experience something, but that never starts immediately. It's always some step after step.
Yeah, I always tell people that, whether you move forward a millimeter or a mile, as long as you're moving forward in the right direction, it's going to take you to where you eventually want to get to. So, Joey, before I get to my last question, first of all, phenomenal content. I know people are going to take so much away from this. How can people best connect with you? How can they work with you? How can they learn about what you do on social?
Yeah, you go to joeychandler.net is my website, and it has all my information. And I also host a podcast called What's Your Purpose, which you were fortunate enough to be, or not fortunate. I was fortunate enough to have you on. And in that podcast, this is where I just talk to people about what their purpose is and how they put it to use in their life. We're not talking about why you should have a purpose or how to figure out a purpose. It's really saying what is their purpose, and then how can they put it into life through the challenges and the ups and downs. And I find that's a really helpful spot to just understand that purpose, it's just being more of you. It's just figuring out who you are and how to be more of that. It's not this airy fairy, out to transform the world. No, I'm about people being great or loving or joyful or something. And how can you bring more of that? So that's a really great spot. And I do one-on-one coaching and groups and all sorts of different things. But go to the website, you can take care of that.
Awesome. Well, all that will be in the show notes. So I highly encourage you guys to connect with Joey to learn more about what he does and how he can help you if this served you and if you felt connected to it. So Joey, final question before we sign off. What does success truly mean to you?
Well, so what greatness means to me is knowing who you are, having a dream, making things happen, having fun with friends and family, and helping others. And I'm guessing if I do those 5 things, that's going to be successful. That's going to be that I made a difference. Honestly, as we're going through all the stuff with the coronavirus, I know myself, I'm thinking of like, what's my message? Like if I were to get sick and, if I were to, fall ill, have I said what I have wanted that I was here to say? That's been driving me recently. And so I think also success is really expressing who you are. I quote, there's the lady, from A Star is Born, Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, where he says, what we're here to do is share something in a way that people want to hear it. And I think if I could do that, if others do that, I think that would be successful.
That's amazing. Well, I should put that quote obviously in the bio of this. That's amazing. And Joey, thank you again so much for being here. It was an honor and privilege to be on yours, and I'm glad that you were able to return the favor. And it's a privilege to have you on here. And everyone deserves to find their passion, their purpose, and I think you did such an immaculate job of teaching people from a very high level, even just listening on a podcast, how to start extracting that from their head and put it into their heart so they can start living a more purposeful and meaningful life. So thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do for other people. And I really appreciate giving me the opportunity.
Absolutely. So guys, as always, take a screenshot from wherever you are listening to this from. Share that screenshot on social, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you are. Tag us in it. Let us know what your feedback, takeaways, and aha moments were. And we hope you enjoyed today's episode. So guys, please enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you again so much for checking out this week's episode. And if you can, head over to iTunes, search for Network Marketing Made Simple, leave me a 5-star rating, basic review. I would be grateful for all of the support you guys can give me. And again, if you'd be interested in learning more how to utilize LinkedIn to grow your business, your brand, and your bank account, head over to my website, www.scottaaron.net. Fill out the form for your free 15-minute discovery call so I can learn more about you, your business, and how we can work together. And again, thank you guys so much. Grateful for you all, and I'll see you next time.